Without further ado, here's Joe.
Okay, thanks, Courtney. All right, so I'm assuming I'm coming through okay. So the very first thing I want to do here is, Courtney, let's go ahead and, you know what? No, let's hold off. We'll do the Q&A at the end because people will probably have questions also about the deal and stuff that we're going to put in front of them. So we'll open it up for the Q&A with the jump start and the force your success and all that at the end here. Okay, so the first thing I got to do is I got to tell you a little story about my in-laws. So first of all, this is my stepfather-in-law, so my wife's mother's husband. He and I were talking one day, and he goes, you know, if we could just go ahead and pay off our house, whenever we can get our house paid off, then I know that Lorraine, my wife, would be able to retire or maybe just go down to part-time work. Now, both of them are kind of similar with their work ethic. I think Coy, when he was 18 or 19 years old, he went to work for the same company that he still works for. Matter of fact, all the way up to today, he still works for that company. But he started there, I think, when he was about, I'm going to say 18, 19 years old, and he's been there for, 40 plus years. So then my mother-in-law, she's worked for the same law firm. As a matter of fact, I'm using one of the attorneys now in that law firm. I just sent over, I think it was four. Let's see, four. Yeah, we were doing four more closings, so just sent the stuff over, and then I get on the phone. Once Victoria sends over the next contracts, then she will schedule a time on the attorney's calendar with me on my calendar so that I can answer any of the attorney's questions. So there's a batch of them we send over at one time. Then I go on to a call. Matter of fact, we recorded this last call, so we're going to make that available for people to be able to listen to me talking to the attorney and showing them what I'm doing and telling him how it's going to be structured and all that kind of stuff. But anyhow, that firm is where my mother-in-law worked all those years. So Coy said, if we can pay off the house, then she can either go to part-time or retire. And so her mother, which is my wife's grandmother, was starting to get, to the point where she needed a lot of assistance. And so that was a very attractive thing for her, is to be able to free up her time to spend more time with her mother. Okay, so this is my mother-in-law on the left there. She's blowing out the cake. And then my stepfather-in-law, that's Coy sitting next to her. And so then, you see part of Coy's head's cut off in that picture, but then there's the rest of his head. So that's the couple that we're talking about. They are in their 60s now. And let's just go to this next slide. This is the house that, matter of fact, I'll tell you about this deal also. This is their home. They've been in it for a long time. I got this deal, arranged this deal for them a very long time ago. But that house is actually even though I'm just outside of Savannah, which is very hard to find houses with basements in them on the outskirts, but this one here actually does have a basement. So when you walk in the front door of that house, you're on the first floor, but if you walk out the back door of that house, you're in the basement walking out on ground level. So it drops down. So off the back, that's the deck across the back of that house, and that's a view of the pond. That pond is fully stocked with all different types of freshwater fish. There's also in this picture on the bottom right corner, you can't see it. It's right next to that canoe that's right there. There's a it's a Canadian goose that flew in. Usually there's several of them that come and land in there, but the rest of them might be up against the bank, which that drops off pretty good at the front, the closest to us. But anyway, that's their house. That's their backyard, front yard. It's a little over 6 acres. But there's something a little bit unusual that took place with this property. So after we had got it under control from the seller, if you look at where that minivan's sitting right there, this is out the front of the house. So from the front door looking out, big oak tree you see right in the center there, that used to not be on their property. So the road that comes down, it comes from the right and goes to the left as that picture goes. And you only go, I think, 2 more houses and you're into a cul-de-sac. And, you know, each one of the homes there, you know, got several acres, each one. They're not just, you know, like building lots or 1 acre tracts of land. So the road used to go on both sides of that live oak. So you'd come in one side and you turn around and go back out on the opposite side. And the you know, so the road was between where you see those lights, the yard lights, and that tree. That's where the old road used to be, which was, you know, city or county property, I should say. So there was an issue going on where they wanted to take that, the county wanted to take that tree down so that they could put the road in and pave it. And make it just one, you know, a 2-lane road right there, and so the tree was in the way of doing that, and so, you know, the neighborhood, which there's not, but I don't know, maybe 6. Well, I guess there's probably about 10 home sites on that road, but they all got up in arms and, you know, fought it a little bit, and so what we were able to do is get it to where the road was put on the far side of that tree, and then they quit claimed all the property, the tree and all the property on this side of the tree that used to be the county's property, to my mother-in-law and her husband. So that all became theirs when it wasn't in the original deal with the seller. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting little piece to tell you there. But that's the property that they that Coy was talking about, if they could pay that off. All right, so now I'm going to take you to a different tract of land. This is real close to where I live. But this was, gosh, I can't remember, maybe 6 1/4 acres or 6.1 acres. So in the yellow, that was a 6-acre tract of land with 2 paved roads. You know, it's on the corner of 2 paved roads. So we've got access from it from both ways. The dark blue blot there is a swimming pool. The 2 gray dots are both storage tanks for a well that's probably about, you know, it's a deep well into the aquifer that's probably about 500 feet deep right there. And then the green dot is where an existing home sits. Now the only thing I don't have, I've searched every which way I can think of, I cannot find an original picture of that house on that property. But I went and I put an offer in on this property. So the 6+ acres and this house, the house was built on stilts. So the first thing in people's minds is, oh, well, that must be a high flooding area. And the answer is absolutely the opposite. There was no issues with flooding in that area whatsoever. I know that area real well, vegetation, all that stuff. There's no flooding issues whatsoever. Not in 100 years, not in 500 years, probably not even in 1,000 years would it be possible for that spot to flood. But nonetheless, the house was built up on stilts. And so I'll show you what we did with that in just a little bit. But when Coy made the statement to me that, you know, he would love for them to be able to retire and they needed their house to be paid off to do that. So I said, well, I'm about to do this real estate deal, and if you'd like, we'll make it a fun thing, a family thing, and we'll do this deal together, bits and pieces of it together. And they worked, you know, regular working hours Monday through Friday. So I said, well, we'll do it on the weekends together. So this is I won't call it a blood, sweat, and tears, because there was no blood, sweat, or tears. There was just a lot of laughing and fun and working together and meeting every Saturday and Sunday morning for breakfast before we went over and knocked out this place. So let me go a little bit further here. So what I did was I wanted to rezone the property. So I changed it from I forget the zoning on it, but it was you could go no smaller than 5 acres, but you can look around there and see that there's other tracts of land that are smaller than 5 acres. So to have that rezoned is a very easy thing to do. It's a no-brainer there. So we went through the process. I got it rezoned to where I could do no smaller than 1 acre tracts. So that meant that I could do 5 home sites on there. It seems like I couldn't do 6, so it seems like it wasn't 6+ plus acres. It was 5 plus acres. It wasn't quite 6 acres. So I only set it up for 5 home sites. So the reason why that those dots and blots are there is so that you can see one of my challenges that I had to do when I was trying to figure out how to separate this whole thing out and make everything work right. So the next spot we go to is here. So now this is the way that we surveyed it off so that each property was at least an acre, plus I was able to save that swimming pool and make it part of the house that was already the existing house, and the well stays on just that property. So in doing that, it's real easy to do all that. I mean, when I say you got to go to meetings and you got to rezone and all that kind of stuff, it's almost no issue, nothing at all. I think it was like $175 to do that. Then my surveyor obviously charges us a little bit to draw up the new drawing. I had my soil scientist go out and analyze the soil so that there could be 4 more septic tanks. There's a septic tank where the green dot is. There's a septic tank straight behind that. So from the yellow, the opposite direction from that yellow line that it's close to, there's a septic tank right there. That's way over the tank, and the drain field is way more than 100 feet away from that well. And so then any well that goes on the other 4 properties would have to be 100 feet away from that drain field and be 100 feet away from the drain field for each one of those other 4 lots. And so those are the only restrictions. But this is a lot of land. There's a lot of room to be able to do that. It's very easy to accomplish that with the amount of space you have there. Now, if you drop down to half-acre lots, first of all, you can't put a well and a septic tank on one property that's a half-acre lot in my area anymore. I think you used to be able to do around 3/4 of an acre, and then they bumped it up to 1 acre. But anyway, there's plenty of room to do all that. So as you can see, that each one of the lots that are subdivided off, they all have their own access to the paved roads. So 2 of them are on Nice Road, and then 3 of them are on Hester Road. That one on the corner had its choice. It could be on Nice or it could be on Hester, and it ended up being on Hester. So I subdivided off all of that. Now, everything's done on scratch paper before I actually really and truly did this. And then I pre-sold the 4 lots, not the house, but the 4 lots. So I had all that sketched out on a piece of paper that this is what we're going to do. And I got it pre-sold so that there's, contracts on each one of the 4 lots before I even got started with actually going ahead and spending any money and going to closing. Okay, so let's jump into this. So this is what the numbers look like on that. So I put a contract on the house, on that first house where you see the green and the blue dot and the gray dots. I put a contract on that one house with the 5+ acres for $189,000. So then I did some remodeling to it, and I'm going to show you what it kind of looks like now. Well, actually, what it does look like now. We'll use Google Earth, and we'll zoom in on it. But we spent about $65,000, and we did that work. That's the remodel cost. We did that work in 22 days. We did it in 11 weekends. So we knocked that place out just like that. So what is that? About 3 months. So we played with that. Now, there could have been some days, some holidays in there that we worked on it instead of weekends, so it may have been less than the 11 weeks. It may have been 7 weeks because there was a couple of other holidays there. And what would happen is my wife's mother and stepfather would come to our house. We'd have some breakfast, laugh and joke a little bit, and then head over to the house and knock out, little bits and pieces we wanted to get done in that day. Nothing, no time restrictions, no crazy anything. So the total cost, $189 buying the whole thing, $65,000 doing the remodel. So that I've got $254,000. Now, there's a little bit of cost in the soil scientist, in the survey, in closing, stuff like that. That's all in that $65,000. So I pre-sold the 4 lots up front. So put the contract for $189,000 in place, pre-sold the lots for $200,000. Now I still have the house on the little over 1 acre lot with the pool and the well and all. And so then I was able to finish that house, and I'll show you what we did with that. And we sold that house by itself for $369,000. So that means we got $200,000 up front to make it to where we went into the deal with $11,000 to the good, and then we did the work on the house, and then we turned that into another bit of profit there on it. So $315,000 is about what we made. We probably made a little bit more than that, but I just wanted to be kind of like just on the low end with the numbers instead of on the high end. Okay, so why does damn Toshiba thing always comes up on me? All right, so let's go to Google Earth for a second here and jump into this whole thing. Okay, so on Google Earth, this is the corner right here. Here's Nice, and here's Hester. You might recognize this name here. I bought that whole area right there also, and then of course when you own all that, you get to call whatever road you want to call, whatever name you want to call it. So that sounded like a good one to me, so I use that. But let's jump down into this property sitting right here. Matter of fact, you can see the pool right here that I had to kind of play with, and there's the roof of the property. But let's go to the street view. Courtney, I have a question. Is this coming through okay where everyone can see? Can you see it on your system?
Yeah, just slow down a little bit. It is loading a little slower, I guess. For
well, I'm just trying to get there. If there's nothing really happening yet. So those of you who are paying attention, you'll see a for sale sign here. We'll talk about that in just a little bit too. But there's the house. Now this house, this is really hard. I wish so bad I had a picture of it. But this house, if you just picture, let me see, can I go, no, went the wrong way. Try to zoom towards that house a little bit more. Oh yeah, I might be able to. Yeah, you can see it now a little bit better. So this house, if you look right above the garage doors here, right above these windows on the left side, right about at the level of this little porch built onto here, from there, that was the floor of the house upstairs, and this centerpiece did not exist. So if you looked at it from the air down, from the overhead down, this wing existed and this wing existed, and they connected way in the back. And so if you looked at it from up above, it looked like a U-shaped house. And so none of the downstairs was closed in. It was all the stilts on the exterior walls. There was a couple inside, but not too many. It wasn't too hard to work around those. But so the whole upstairs was there. There was a slab there. Obviously, all the plumbing, electrical, you know, the water feed, the drain line, all that was all ran, and of course coming down through below the underneath part of this whole thing. Just imagine it was a great big carport underneath of the house. And so what we did was upstairs, if I remember right, in that house, there were 2 bathrooms, 4 bedrooms, a big eat-in kitchen, a dining room, and a living room, and then a second floor deck that's across the back. So if you saw the back of this, you'd see a deck that's second floor up, all the way across the back of the house. And then down below that, there's kind of like a landing there also. So it's not really a deck, but there's some pavement, concrete that's out the back. So you've got like a patio all the way across the back of the house on the ground floor, and then upstairs you've got a deck all the way across the back. So what I did was I closed this in, and then I closed in the entire downstairs, and so we turned that into a double car garage here. And then you can't see it, but down the side of this house towards the back, there's another small garage that's on the side. So it's the side of the house has this opening, this garage door opening, which is for, you know, parking golf carts and go-karts and stuff like that. Then on the where you come in the front door, this is kind of like a foyer area. It's a real big room, and the staircase goes straight up into this room here that we closed in. So so that's how you enter the upstairs here from outside. And then right here, like on the left side of that star, that wall going straight all the way to the back of the house, there's a private entrance into the downstairs mother-in-law suite that we created. Oh, upstairs there was a laundry room. Obviously, you know, the house didn't have a downstairs, so upstairs was a laundry room. So we put a mother-in-law suite with a kitchenette, a living room. It's an eat-in kitchenette, a living room, a master bedroom, a master bath, and a laundry room downstairs. And then it also had another exterior back entrance to that little mother-in-law suite in there. So we closed all that in, and that was so easy, very inexpensive to do. Like I said, we spent like $65,000. Now, if we had hired someone to do that, I don't know what that number would have come to, but you know, back then I still had, you know, construction crews out all different places and all. I did a lot of construction, so instead of having crews do this, it was my mother-in-law, my stepfather-in-law, and my wife and I, and we like I said, we did it as a fun thing. So now let's see, I got to come back out of this. No, I don't want to come out of that yet. So you remember the numbers. So 315 was the profit made out of that. I don't remember what all they owed still on their house. It seems like it was in the 70s or so, something like that. So they were able to pay off their house. But the damnedest thing happened. My mother-in-law never quit working. She never went to part-time. She never quit working. And you know why? The main reason why was that she didn't know what she was going to do with her time. So it bothered her, and it bothers her to this day, trying to figure out what she's going to do with her time when she does retire. But they were to the point when we did this deal and it was done and over with for them that she could have retired. I don't think both of them could have retired, but she definitely could have. I think they needed just a little bit more of something else to do to get it to the point where both of them could just completely retire. So that's that story. So let me just take you, I'm going to go back out of this. Let's see, how do I there we go. So just to kind of give you an idea, I always look for deals, and because we're on Google Earth here, let's see, how do I go back to, I want to go back to overhead view. I'm not sure how I do that. No. Maybe this is it. Hey, look at there. Man, I'm doing it. Okay. You proud of me, Courtney? Okay, so I'm bringing you back out to the overhead view. Remember, this was the property that I just talked about. There's the pool, and the double well, the double storage tank was sitting right about in this spot. It's there on that. If you wanted to put in that address, you could go right back to the same spot. So down this road here, I bought a little over 25 acres at one spot, and then I bought several 1 acre tracts. I bought this property and this one, built this house on it, put her grandparents into this house. Bought this property, bought this. As a matter of fact, this property right here is the one where Courtney's mom lives. She's one of our buyers in that. I built this house right here. These people already were here, but they just had a mobile home, and then we built them a stick-built house on it. Let's see, down here a little further. I built this house right here. I had sold, or I built this house twice. I designed this house and built it in a small subdivision where the lots in there were like 5/8 of an acre, and so I had people come from Kentucky who fell in love with the house, but they wanted more land. So I took and cut off a piece of a tract of land for them here and built the house for them. See, I built this one back here. If you ever talk to Christy, this one here is Christy and Harold's house right there. That's the one that's like 8,200 square feet under roof. This is my place here. There's our pool. There's another detached garage with another apartment on that. Here's the horse. There's the barn, the corral, and then we have another separate corral over here. See, we built a portion of this house right here for a man who was building the house himself. He was afraid to do the roof, so we did the roof for him on his house, built that. But that's a little bit right there. And then down, let's see, down the road here, yeah, we've got a house for sale right now. I think we're about to put a buyer in this little neighborhood right here. It's sitting, let me see, I think it's this, yeah, it's this place right here. That's 110 St. Matthew's Place. That's a place that we're getting ready to put another buyer in place. If you come all the way back down, let's see, we come down Hester Road. Yeah, let's see here. I got to get to 30. I'm going to have to come back out here for a second. Wrong way. That's not what I wanted. We'll go this way. Hold on just a minute, guys. I'm trying to get there. It is. I was looking for Highway 30. So this house right here, I built this one. This is an unusual house. This house, if you look at this from the road, this one has got some crazy windows in the front of it. So let's see if we can get to that angle. So this is Highway 30, and this house, you can kind of see the windows there a little bit. Let's see if I can go that way just a hair. There we go. So if you see all those windows going up the front of that house, they're all the way across the front, right behind that truck, and then another row of windows, and then the angular windows. If you kind of look at that house, the people I built that for, they had chosen one of those log cabin floor plans, and so picture that same design right there, but they wanted it as a stick-built house. But imagine that with the stone fireplace right there in the center of those windows, and then you have the windows that go up the sides and on the angles going up the sides. So picture a stone fireplace going all the way up the front of that in a log cabin type style. That's a common floor plan out there, but they wanted it as a stick-built home, and they wanted it to have all windows. So we did that. If you go back down, so you want to come down, keep going this way. So we have the middle school and high school off to our right, but right down the street here, why am I not able to go this way? What's going on here? Okay, that's a little faster. Okay, you get down to this point. It is not letting me go. For some reason I can't get. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so there's a church, and that church keeps getting added onto right there. But right here, so directly behind me is the high school, and so right here, this picture's taken after we had taken a mobile home off of this corner lot and later we put a double wide on here. This one here, one of my students and I are doing a deal on that now, where we've put a double wide mobile home. It's a really nice small place on there, maybe 16 or 1,800 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. So we've set it up where it's a buyer who's buying the mobile home, and they're buying the fact that they're going to be on a piece of dirt, but not this piece of dirt. And so then we're going to take that double wide off, put it on another lot that's in the same school district, provided they're okay with the lot, which, you know, we're only going to look for something that would be, you know, a decent lot. But they understand that we're taking this lot rezoning this commercial and then looking to put a business on here to do a commercial deal in there. And again, right straight behind us, that's where the high school is, South Effingham High School. So there's the high school, and then right down the street here, that blue roof, that's the middle school. But I mean, I'm always doing real estate deals. If you come back down Nice Road, these are just because when I'm driving to or from work or the restaurant or whatever, all of a sudden a deal will pop up and I'll see it and I'll just go ahead and do something, you know, with it. And so this road here, if we go back down this road, we are going to hit that deal that I just showed you. Let's see here. I'll do it from overhead right here. So this is Nice Road coming down Nice. And so here's that 1158 right there again. But if I come to just before that, you'll see one of the builders who had bought one of the lots built this house, and then this house has been foreclosed on. This house right here, the people that bought that from me, they've had it up for sale for 2 or 3 years, and I have talked to her. She's a judge, and I talked to her not too long ago about me just taking over the house for her, so we got to chat about it a little bit more. But anyway, right next to that house where they built, this is a simple double-wide mobile home right here. We bought that property also, and you know, I'm just always doing real estate deals all over the place. Back to, let me come back out of this and we'll go back into the, let's see, I got to go to PowerPoint and then from current slide. All right, so let's go back to this. So these lots, I was just showing you that double-wide mobile home is sitting here on this property, and then right here on this one, that's the one that the builder had built a house on there. So the same builder bought this property, this property, this property, and then also I had this property over here. We did the deal with that. It's not in those numbers, but that was separate. But there was a lot over here that I owned also. This property, and an individual bought that, and then they became their own contractor and had their own place built on that. But after the builder had bought these, they built a really nice house on this one and a really nice house on this one. This one is still vacant, and the builder went out of business. So just crazy things happen. Can I go do something with both of those houses that are for sale on Nice Road? Yep, sure can. I might eventually, you know, whether if I get them, I get them. If I don't, I don't. It doesn't really matter. It's always I'm just willing to walk away, just like George Ross says. So the bottom line is that's those deals. They're just simple little deals that we do all the time. Everything that I showed you there, take away just my property because it's not an investment property, but take away that. That's probably just roughly on top of my head, maybe about $1.7 million worth of deals sitting right there. Just those few just scattered around. There's certainly not a drop in the bucket compared to what we actually do, but there's just a few close by that deal. This is what you need to learn how to do. You got to learn how to market. You got to learn how to structure your deals so that in that case, you know, a lot of times many of you on this call have seen me show you how to buy houses using less than $11 and making money off them on the front end, all the way through, and then on the back end. That deal there, before I even bought it, I had $11,000 in, you know, to the good for me before I even bought the house. And then could I have just bought it, that whole thing subdivided, sold off the lots, and then just turned right around and sold that house that was on stilts and not closed it in? Yep. What would have been the difference in the profit? Probably around $100,000. So, and those are all just kind of guesstimates. I don't know who would have wanted to buy 1 acre and that house on stilts, you know, but the bottom line is that's the route we chose to do. I thought it was fun. Kind of gave my stepfather-in-law and my mother-in-law some hope to retire early, and then the pressure was off of, God, I wish I could retire. I wish I could retire. Then when they could, or she could, then it was like, oh, well, now there's not so much pressure anymore because I don't have to work, so it's not so hard getting up and going to work when I don't have to work. So that's the God's honest truth. That's exactly what happened there. All right, so listen, right now you can either click on different things that I offer up. Jumpstart is one, Force Your Success is another, and you can read about those if you go to joemcnamee-training.com and go to the product store. You can see how you can get with me, be able to learn how to do what it is I do, learn how to speak my language, be able to start structuring or connect with me and let me do a lot of it for you. And while I'm telling you what I want you to do, you'll understand it better by taking some of my training so that I can help you do deals like that and others that are way cooler and others that are not anywhere near as many moving parts, and make a pretty solid, substantial amount of money off of them. So you can either click on that or you can give us a call. And so there's that part of it. Now, Courtney, let's go into the Q&A now and see if anybody's got any questions.
Okay, everyone, either just raise your hand or type the questions in.
All right, now I know that you already had, I think you had one from Vanessa, didn't you, that she had sent me?
Yeah.
She couldn't be here.
Okay. Okay, Vanessa asked, what do you do if a buyer has listed a property in the recent past, if a broker has listed a property in the recent past for less than you think it's worth, and a buyer questions you about the difference?
Okay, so what you're saying is, if I understand this right, the question is, she has a property that she's trying to sell, and it was listed in the recent past with a real estate broker for less than what she's asking. Does that sound like that's what she's asking?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So here's the thing. First of all, when the broker was offering it up for sale, most times they're either not going to, or they don't understand how to offer up the terms that we can as investors. So Vanessa was, I'm assuming, was trying to sell this through a broker before she knew that she could do this a different way, or before she signed up for Force Your Success, where I will help her sell this property. And so recently I remember her sending me pictures and all of the house had been sitting empty for a while, and no brokers were able to sell it or anything. And so I created a couple of ads, gave it to her for her to, start getting her phone to ring and her email to blow up on that house. And of course, that's why she's getting all different kinds of questions now. So they don't know how to structure different types of terms, nor do they want to get involved in that, because they're just trying to earn the commission off of a straight out sale. And the money wiring into the closing table is where their commission is coming from, and that's really all they see or understand, whether it's being wired in because it's a loan or it's being wired in because it's a cash offer. So when we can offer up terms, then, and I'm going to give you a formula in just a minute, but we can offer up terms that no one else can, so it makes our deals a little bit more valuable. Now, one of the terms that we can offer up that makes it more valuable is you could take the same house sitting next door to each other, and my house, I can sell it for $165 with no problem, and the realtor next door can sell theirs for $150, and the end buyer ends up getting a better deal buying it for the $165 from me than the $150 from the realtor, because of several reasons. One is they don't have to pay the real estate commission on that purchase. Two is they don't have to pay for surveys or appraisals, any of that stuff. Three is that that $150 purchase might be based on let's say a 5% interest rate on a 30-year loan, and let's say that I have taken over this house for the $165, a 5% interest rate, and it might be a 30-year loan, but there might only be 22 years left on it. So the person can literally, I can sell it to them subject to, maybe do a seller carryback second for a little bit, but I can sell it to them, and literally their house is paid off in 22 years instead of 30 years. So that means that that end buyer doesn't have to pay 8 years of interest on mine, but they do have to pay the 8 years of interest on the 150. So when you figure out that first 8 years of interest, when you figure out compound interest, you'll find out that there's tens of thousands of dollars they're saving by buying it from me for 165 for 22 years versus the 30 years on the 150. So that's another thing. So now when you go back to this and you go, okay, how do I justify how much more the house is worth when I'm selling a house with my terms? There's not an exact science on this, but I always say this, that this is a ballpark check and balance for you. If you figure out what the house is worth, let's say that general basic 2,000 square foot house that's got 3 bedrooms and 2 baths, and then take a look at the house again, but it's a 4-bedroom, 3 baths. So if you add 1 more bedroom and 1 more bathroom, it might bump the value by $15,000 or $20,000 or a little bit more. And that's typically what I feel that the terms that I can offer up makes the house that much more valuable. It's worth that much more. You know, the person who's buying through us doesn't have to go through all those hoops, jump through all those hoops that the banks put them through. You know, 2, 3, 4 months of give me this, give me that, give me the other thing, and you know, and they're scrutinizing and all this kind of stuff, and then they don't get the property when they can come to me and within a few hours they can have the property. I don't like to do it that fast. I like to, you know, give them a couple of days to think about it before I let them, you know, take the house. Also, I don't want to freak them out by being able to do it too fast, but the truth is it doesn't take me but just a few minutes to figure out whether I can make this deal work for someone or not. It's just I can go that fast, but sometimes that freaks them out. So with all that said and done, your property, you selling it yourself, knowing something that you used to not know, or having the comfort of having someone who's working with you, makes it to where it's more valuable. Now, how do I turn around and say that to the potential end buyer? I'm selling my house on terms that no one else can offer. That's why I can ask a little bit more for it. And by the way, Mr. End buyer, you'll probably end up spending less on it by buying it from me than if you bought the house just exactly like it next door for $15,000 less. Mine's still going to be cheaper than that because I can save you in all different ways. I just need to get a little bit more of your information to know where you stand and what you need. So now we're going down the road of the buyer script. Okay, next question.
Asked Joe, will you ever do a 2-day boot camp again?
Okay, start again, Courtney, because for some reason or other part of when you were speaking, you came halfway through.
Will you ever be doing a 2-day boot camp again?
You know, I probably will do a live event at least once a year. We have built the whole new system around virtual stuff, and you know, or online stuff, I should say, not virtual, but online stuff, where you know, everything moved to online, so people didn't have to pay the higher price of a live event. They didn't have to pay the travel, hotel, eating out of town, and also, you know, walking away from their businesses or where they work, or finding someone to watch their kids, or whatever the case may be. So everybody liked that. So that 90+% of the people, you know, went that route, would rather that than the live event. I still have a say 10% or so people who would like the live event, and so I have a few different things. One of the things that I just started offering up just about 2 weeks ago is anyone who is in Force Your Success, not Jumpstart, but anyone who is in Force Your Success can come to my office for 1 full day while I work with them on their business. I spend the whole day with them building their business. I have a couple of people. I came up with this a few weeks ago to help one person, and it turned into there were 2 people that needed the same help, and now it's looking like there's more people that should really take advantage of this. Now, when I offer that up, people in Force Your Success, there's an additional charge of $3,000 to come to my office and spend 1 full day where we're building everything that you need built right there the whole 9 yards, building the ads, setting up the websites, setting up phones if you need that. Whatever it is that you need, I want to go ahead and start the phone ringing and the email blowing up, and we got to get it all going for you all at once. We're zeroing in on your area and where we should be looking for properties, trying to make offers on them, trying to find buyers for them, all in that same day, so that then, will we be able to move all those properties? Well, I did it in a few different events. I was able to do stuff like that in the same day, sell properties that I started marketing that same day. But this time, I'm just going to tell you that what you should be paying attention to, if you're one of those people that come and do that with me, what you should be paying attention to is this. What is it that we're doing? How are we doing it, or I'm doing it? And how can you mimic what it is that you're watching me do? So if you're looking over my shoulder, if you're watching this entire thing, this entire process that I'm doing, and maybe some of my staff who's helping are doing, then these are the things that you continue to do when you go back home. So we kind of get you up and going, instead of you going and having, I'll call it investor's block instead of writer's block. It's investor's block. Okay, I heard all these cool things. I know all this terminology, but I don't know how to apply it. Well, you should know how to apply it with me, because you should be over and over again watching me do deals right in front of your face so that you can mimic what I'm doing. Now, can you be me? No, and I can't be you. But you darn sure know what it is that I'm doing and how I'm doing it, because I'm going to show you and I'm going to tell you. And it's firsthand. It's right up to today's date. This is not stuff that used to work in some other economy. This is not stuff that I only did once or twice. This is what I do on a regular basis. So coming to the office, you can do that. Now, if you are a Jumpstart student, it's a little more expensive. Force Your Success, it's $3,000. A Jumpstart student can do that same thing. It's $4,500 to come, and I do the same thing with you on that first one-day episode. But when you leave here, and if you're a Jumpstart student, it's all on you. When you leave here and you're a Force Your Success student, everything that we weren't able to get done, I'm going to continue working with you. I just need to know what it is that you can and you can't do, and once I understand that, once you're asking the right questions, then I can zero in on continuing moving you forward. So bottom line is, those two things are available. Now, going back to a 2-day event, we're probably going to do a 2 or a 3-day event once a year, maybe twice a year, but we're still building all this other stuff that we've put in place here based on the online things. So that's almost all finished being done, so that it can kind of run on autopilot. Then we can go back into the world of doing live events again. But I used to do a live event every 2 months, and it took a lot away from my real estate deals when I was doing it, and I didn't realize how much it took away until I actually went into the world of doing the online training. Then I started realizing, holy cow, I'm doing a whole lot more real estate deals, and it's like, oh, okay, well, that's because I had more time to focus on it again. So that's where I'm at. That's the way we're going. Now, in the future also with me, my local students are going to start doing most of the deals that are in my area, and I'll be doing the negotiating for them, but it'll be their deals mostly. That's in the future. And I'm going to step away from doing my own real estate investing business all the time, just negotiating for them, putting their deals together for them in the local area. And then that's going to free up a lot of my time, which is where my passion is, to teach others in other areas how to do what it is that I do, and then work with them in their areas with their deals so that I can focus more time that way. So right now, 95% of my income is from my real estate deals. There's maybe not even 5% of an income comes in from the training. So I want to kind of shift that, because I've been doing real estate for 5 decades, and it's fun to do it, and it's fun to solve buyers and sellers problems, and they sit there and they boo-hoo and cry, and the kids are all excited, and everybody's like crying because they're so happy and all that kind of stuff, and that's great. But when I can take a person or a couple who can then mimic what I just did for all those people, and mimic that in their towns, and be able to do help all those people, influence all those people's lives, change their lives for the better, then I feel like I'm doing a whole lot more than when I'm just doing my deals here just in the local area. Then I can do the same thing across America and make it possible where it's not me really doing it, it's my students in that area. So that's where I'm going with this. That's the direction I'm going. So I'll have more time to spend on the training once we get done with the other piece of this. Okay, that was a long answer for a simple question. Sorry, guys. All right, next question.
Okay, Lee asked, I would like to place a couple of businesses on a piece of land near an intersection and school. Would it be better to find a business to fill the location and pay all the costs, or place the business there myself?
Okay, so that's Lee, and what he's referring to is that corner lot that I was showing you that we put a double wide mobile home on, that we already have the buyer. We set up the buyer for it, and now that buyer also knows that we're going to take and relocate them from that property down the road. A little later on, we're going to relocate them to a property that's in the same school district with that home, so that this property, once it's rezoned commercial. And so what he's wanting to know is, in that question, I think I'm right with this, what kind of business should go there, and should he own the business or not? Okay. So what were the types of businesses? Did he say the types of businesses in that question?
No, he
Okay.
said, would it be better to find a business to fill the location and pay all the costs, or place the business there myself?
And the answer is, it's better you make more money by placing a business there that you can, not manage, but let someone else manage it for you, and you receive, an income from the business and from that business buying the land from you. So even though it could be your business, that business should be buying it from your other business, which is holding the property. All right, so you're gonna make money off of the business, and you're gonna make money off of the sale of the property to that business. The reason you separate it out that way is so that down the road you can sell any piece of this or all of it. Why create a business that you can't turn around and sell? So you create it and you set it up to where it can be sold separately. Now, the one caution here is, it needs to be a business that's not going to monopolize all of your time, and it needs to be something that it's easy to have someone else manage it for you, even if you go through 3 managers in a year. So the last thing in the world you want to do is get into some sort of food service where you're trying to manage it, trying to control it, or you're trying to find someone to control it and manage it, and you keep going through people, and then you have to go and be that food service person when you may not know anything about it. And then you got the health department on you for, maybe having bad grades on your health inspections and all that kind of stuff. So let's say that you took and you put a portable office space, a building on there that you can buy one of those for $3,000 or $4,000. Put it in place, have 1,200 square feet of office space, heated, cooled, plumbed, power, the whole 9 yards, and then that office is set up to just sell, say, used cars on the lot, or maybe it's a business that sells things that the school kids need from right across the street, and don't forget the church is right there. And if you can sell to that church and to the school kids across the street, then you can sell to all the schools within a short distance away, maybe a 30 to 50 mile radius. And so those kind of businesses that don't require a whole lot of special handling would be all right. So an example would be, in that South Effingham High School right there, which is across the street, there are 5 different bands. So the bands, kids in the band, when I was in school, way back in the day, before dinosaurs, were on the earth, but when I was in school, the kids in the band, they were nerds and they weren't looked at fondly. It was the craziest thing. It was sad. But in today's time, those kids, especially the ones that are in the marching band, they're looked at as like rock stars. So everything has changed so much, so dramatically. But anyways, so all these different kids in the band, they're all either buying or renting musical instruments. So if you connected with a supplier who could give you really good deals on musical instruments and have two different ways that you do them. One is that you're selling the instruments to the kids, through the parents, or you're renting some of those instruments to the kids to see if the kid likes it. It's very typical for a 9th or 10th grader to say, yes, I want to play trumpet, and they do it for 1 year and they decide, you know what, I don't want to do that anymore. Well, instead of spending all that money on buying an expensive trumpet, if they were able to just rent one, well, so you can rent some of your equipment out, and then you can, set up sales. Now, should you stockpile your storage, your commercial portable building there with inventory? And the answer is no. What you do is you have a few here and there, and you do catalog sales. They pay up front for you to order it. Then you have a small amount there that can be rented, but have it set up to where you can quickly get it in, but don't spend money on stocking up inventory and then not have anyone who wants to buy it or rent it. So it would mostly be through catalog. So that would be a way. There's a lot of different ways you can do businesses like that. So I hope that answered that question. Next question.
Okay, Stephanie asked, I have a real estate license in New Jersey. How can I incorporate lease options as a licensed agent?
Okay, so whatever broker you're hanging your license under, you got to make sure that they're okay with what you're doing. That's the very first thing. Obviously, there's state laws to pay attention to, but there's also things that certain large corporate-style brokerage firms frown upon. So you got to have a sit-down, face-to-face chat with your broker that you're hanging your license under. Now, if you are the broker, if you're a mom and pop-ish style broker, then you can kind of set your own rules as long as you're following, state and federal law. But one of the things that I always tell people, my mother was a realtor for 27 years. One of the things I always tell people is, imagine the ad, if you ran this ad, I'll list your property for sale, and if I can't find a buyer for you in X number of days, then I'll buy it from you. Okay, so now did you say you're going to go and get a loan from a bank, or did you say that you're going to write a check for the whole amount? No, you said you'd buy it from them. There's so many ways of buying that property without spending a dime or needing any credit. All right, so there's that side of it. Now, to go down the road of the lease option, you could have the conversation with your broker so that let other realtors, other agents under that brokerage, and other brokerage firms that connect with you, but let them try to sell their properties that come underneath their watch. And if they can't sell it, now it hits the expired MLS. So now you take the expired listings and you say, okay, Mr. Broker or Mrs. Broker, these are the ones that were expired. I would like to approach them with a different method, a different way of doing this. So either you can do it yourself as the investor and go after those properties then, not as a realtor, you still have to reveal that you are a realtor, or you can have it set up where there's a family member, maybe it's your wife or your husband, or maybe it's an adult child of yours, or maybe it's a parent that has this firm, and they're the ones who would actually been doing the lease option on these properties while you look for potential buyers for those properties to going into buying it under a lease purchase agreement. That's just a tip of the iceberg. There's a million different ways of doing that. Now, everything I just said, you should chat about with your broker. You also should chat about it with your investor-friendly attorney so that you're sure that you're not breaking any laws, causing any kind of issues there, and every state's got its own little pet peeves there. But I've known everywhere I've lived in every state and a few other foreign countries, I've known real estate agents who were also investors, and they buy all different ways. Now, final thing that I'll say on this is, if you're asking if there's a way for you to be a broker, or I'm sorry, an agent, and you're just talking to the seller about doing a lease option on their property, it could go along the lines of, you're doing a listing agreement with them and you're asking them, are you interested, let's create some numbers. Let's say that they owe $200,000 on a house that's worth let's say 275, but you don't get any offers any more than maybe 225,000. So you could go back to the seller and you could say, Mr. Seller or Mrs. Seller, listen, we're not able to get to 275 that we think the house is worth and you say you want for the property. However, we've got these people offering 225. Would you be interested in selling it to them for the 225 and then doing a seller carryback second? Now that's a possibility. Now it could be that the lender would be okay with a second mortgage being put in place a day after the first is put in place. It could be that you've got to get enough of an amount of money down up front where the people moved in, they've paid X number of dollars down or up front until it's satisfied the difference between the 225 and the 275, and then they go to closing. So they'd be leasing it and then closing on it after the fact. I've done many deals where I've rented properties before I've actually bought them. You know, a lot of times it's properties that way in the past that needed work that I moved into. So I'd rent it, not pay any rent, I'd fix the place up, and then I'd buy it and I'd turn around and sell it. But there's so many different ways. Now you have to pay attention to what the lender says is okay also. Some of them don't want a first and a second being agreed upon at the same closing table. So you have to kind of look at that, and again, it's time to bring in your investor-friendly attorney. All right, now that's, again, just a couple of granules of sand in a 5-gallon bucket that's sitting there empty with a lot more granules of sand of different techniques that can be done to accomplish the same things. All right, next question.
I actually don't have any at the moment, so just
Okay.
type them into the question box or raise your hand.
Okay, well guys, I wanted to show you a different way. You know, a lot of people learn from me and have done the same thing I'm about to say to you, where we acquire property with less than $11. Many times it's not even $1, and instead we make, you know, $3, $5, $10, $50,000 up front off of it. Then we make cash flow off of it every month for years. Simultaneously, someone's paying off the debt that we have said that we're going to take the responsibility of, and then on the back end, eventually either the house is paid off or we receive our back end money, which is a whole lot more money out of it. And so we don't need to borrow money. We don't need to write big checks. And you know, you might be able to do a deal like that where you have to spend $1,000 on it. That's not a big check. Stay under $1,000, and I'm okay with that while you're getting started. Down the road, when you're pretty savvy, you've got a good buyer's list built, you know what you're doing, you know how to instantly structure it or restructure it based on whatever Murphy throws at you, then by all means you can do certainly a whole lot more than just that. But that's ways that we take over properties. This particular one here just happens to be we used the property to pay us more than what we were buying the property for, and then we turned around and made more money off of what was left over, the pieces that were left over. So, all right, Courtney, we're going to ask once. Any questions left over?
Nope, I don't have any right now.
Asking twice? All right, if you're interested in signing up for Jumpstart, Force Your Success, or you want to do that one-day visit at the office here where we explode your business for you, all you got to do is click on those or give us a call or go to joemcnamytraining.com. You can sign up for either one of those programs there. All right, everybody have a good day now. Bye.